Welcome to the Distance to Empty podcast, the podcast where we talk about 200 plus mile ultramarathons and multi-night events. I am your host, Kevin Goldberg, and I'm joined, as always, by everyone's favorite co-host, Peter Noyes. Peter, how's it going?
Pretty good. I know we've been talking about baseball a lot, but it's done. I'm happy, and now I have so much more free time.
Now, instead of watching 5 Pacific World Series games, you can go run.
I can run. I can edit podcasts.
Oh well, I'm going to take that to heart. Well, congratulations to the 2025 World Series champions. Your Dodgers are a dynasty. What is the definition of a dynasty?
I don't know. Maybe it's 3. The Yankees have 3 in a row. We only have 2 in a row.
Okay. Well, you had 2022, though. I know it's not in a row, but I don't know. It feels like, I don't know. I'll look up the definition of a dynasty, see if we can call them that. But anyway, this isn't a baseball podcast.
It's a running podcast. Scott Jurek, that's a dynasty.
Scott Jurek is a dynasty. He won Western States a lot of times. Are you, speaking of more time to run, how's your reintroduction to training going?
Good. I ran yesterday. I'm going to run today.
Nice. I have to run to the gym to do the stair stepper and then run home today.
Stair step?
Yeah. I have to prepare for all those stairs at Avalon.
Stairs? I don't think so.
I don't think there's a single stair, but it's a fun workout. It breaks up the run pretty nice.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got nothing till Avalon. So I've been on the track, which has been really hard. I've been doing like VO2 intervals, feeling pretty slow, but it feels good to get out there and let it rip. Hopefully can get some speed back in the legs before Avalon. Treat it like a marathon, road marathon.
Perfect. There you go.
Yeah. Cool. Well, before we get to our guests, we'll give a quick sponsor pitch. Pretty stoked. We are going to be working with Janji throughout 2026. Found out that yesterday. So thank you to anyone who has supported us and supported Janji. We're stoked to be with them for the full year. They've been very good to us, and we're super excited to keep working with them. As always, we'll get to some more details in the post-show, but we have some fun ideas of ways to continue offering, fun, free, Distance to Empty swag to anyone who places orders from our sponsors and our other sponsor. I was just showing Peter my shoe before we hit record here because I'm redoing my podcast studio /office /guest bedroom, and I'm going to put my Mammoth 200 Mount to Coast shoe on the wall on a shelf. So we are also still sponsored by Mount to Coast. Love their shoes. The H1s are amazing if you haven't tried them yet. This episode will come out while we still are running our giveaway for Mount to Coast. So if you haven't entered that yet, we have a giveaway live on Instagram right now. Feel free to go throw your name in the hat, and we'll be selecting a free or a winner to give a free pair of H1s to. Yeah, we talk about the H1s a lot too, but we do also run regularly in the other models as well. And I've been running a lot in the R1s on the track and in the neighborhood lately. What do you run mostly in?
Well, I've done many races now in the R1s, and yeah, I've got thousands of miles in R1s. Yeah, just using the H1s, getting into those. Yeah, I think they're the perfect shoe for people on the West Coast. You know, I'm gonna find some trails to test the T1s on, but for most of what I do, I think the H1s are perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, the T1s are much more aggressive tread-wise, but like, I don't know, even like at Mammoth, I probably would have said the T1s were the better like tread for the course, but I just like the H1 so much that I was like, I'm using them anyway. And no regrets.
Yeah, I think we've said a couple times on this podcast now, it's the fit of the shoe in a 200 is probably more important than the traction. It's like, I don't think you're really testing your footing much in a 200.
Yeah. So more details on the sponsors in the post show, but we really do appreciate you guys supporting our podcast. By supporting them, it means the world to us. It's been going really well. So thank you. Let's get to today's guest. Super excited to chat with him. He's just got such a wild story. It was so hard to fit everything he's done this year into this episode. At the time of the recording, I think he's run more tours in a year than any human being ever. At least sanctioned, organized ones for sure. He had been pretty fresh off the Moab 240 when we recorded this. You've probably heard his name. He's run, let's see if I can name them all, Peter. You might have to help me out. He's run Arizona Monster, Cocodona, Tahoe 200, Oregon 200, Bigfoot 200, the Divide 200. I'm missing some. Moab 240.
I think the Summit.
Summit. Yep. Summit 200. Is that 9?
That's 8. You're missing one.
Missing one.
Did you say Divide?
I said Divide. Was there something else in May?
Was it 8 or
No.
9?
Maybe it was 8. I'm pretty sure it was 9. Hold on, I'm looking them up now. All right, I got them looked up. Oh, Mammoth.
Mammoth. The one you did.
The one I did with him and ran like tons of miles with him at Mammoth. Oh,
That's funny.
Okay, so that's 9. And he also we talked about it in the episode, he just finished the Javelina 100, set himself a nice new PR in the 100, 19 and a half hours. He won a bet, so we sent him a distance to empty hat. And yeah, he's just had an amazing year. He's an incredible dude and a great athlete. And yeah, let's get to our chat with Adam Williams. Adam, welcome to Distance to Empty. Stoked to have you here.
Yeah, it's awesome to join you guys. Can't wait to talk about the last year.
It's been a big one for you. So we are, I mean, what are we? Just a few days removed from Moab 240 here, which was your 9th 200 miler, 200 plus mile race of the year. How are things feeling after 9 200s over the past 10 months here? Or I guess it's really been like 7 months.
Since April. Yeah, since April. I feel great, honestly. I'd be stoked to go run another 200, I guess, in a couple of weeks. If I could do that twice, maybe I'd just do two loops, 2 sets of loops.
Yeah, that would be. Oh, it's a cut off 30 hours. That'd be a really fast 200.
It would be tough.
Yeah, awesome. Well, before we jump into your year, I want to sort of talk about what the heck, how it became to be. So, we've shared a lot of miles out there, and you have a really cool story about. Well, I mean, cool to hear, not cool for you to go through, but. Your 2024 was pretty wild. You were planning on doing the Triple Crown in 2024, and you had a pretty severe, significant injury incident that caused you to defer all of that, which sort of, I think we'll get into it, was kind of the springboard for this massive 2025 that turned out to be. So can you just kind of tell the story in as much detail as you can and are comfortable with of like what happened in 2024, because it is a crazy story.
Yeah. As you kind of allude to, 2024 had built up a pretty big racing calendar of 200. I was going after the Triple Crown, by Destination Trail, a couple other 200s that I have never done before. So I was pretty excited to have a really big challenge by itself. I think I was doing like 5. That was the goal in 2024. And I'd gotten through Cocodona and Tahoe. And then in July, I was just doing my own training runs, my own little adventures down into Wallowas of Eastern Oregon. Following a FKT route, actually on pace to break the record for it. It's a 30-ish mile route through the Wallowas, starting in Joseph Lake. And then you go up the east side and then over the couple different passes. And then you'd go over to the Glacier Basin and then come down the west side trail. And I was about halfway through and coming down Polaris Pass. I was doing just the top 2 switchbacks and pulled out my camera because it was just this amazing bluebird day. I could see every mountain in the top peaks of the Wallowas. So I pulled out this little 360 camera that I got, used like once before, and this was like a perfect moment for it. And started recording and talking about where I was and where I was going and all the snow that I was about to get to. Then I noticed a goat coming down the switchbacks in front of me. I was like, oh, cool, mountain goat. That must be a good sign. Good luck, right? See some wildlife. And so then I start moving, kind of shuffling and then running down the switchbacks. And I noticed the mountain goat he's still going down, just straight down and cutting me off on these switchbacks. That's kind of weird. And so like even in the video, you can hear me narrating and like saying, I hope like it doesn't knock some of this scree rock loose, and I don't want to get like caught in a little rock slide from this goat or something. And as I'm going down the switchback, I go underneath this cliff outcropping, and I lost sight of the goat right before, and he went above it. And just at the last moment, I looked up and I saw him, and he was looking over the edge, and he like stomps like kind of goats do when they're aggressive. and it broke a boulder loose off of the cliff, and it fell 20 feet, bounced once on the side of the mountain and straight into my knee, and ripped open my whole entire right knee, knocked me down the scree field to the next switchback pretty much. And then kind of just went into kind of trauma at that moment. And it's all on video, so going back and watching it, like I start butt scooting down, running away from this goat who I think is throwing boulders at me, and I kind of turned a really good day into a kind of life or death situation. It ended up I was 12 miles back. I thought I was a lot closer to the trailhead that I ended up taking out, because I left the route that I was on and took a more direct out. And so that ended up being 12 miles to get out, and it took about 12 hours. I had to tie my own tourniquet and stop the bleeding because it was a pretty big gash, about 3 inches by 3 inches, kind of just ripped a whole bunch of the flesh out. And then tore my IT band, fractured my fibula, ended up being like a level 3 open fracture, and just full of dirt, rocks, just nasty. And about halfway through, I was bleeding through the bandage that I improvised, and so I had to come up with another one. And so by the end, I had like my broken trekking pole tying this bandage all tight around my leg, and then a stick that I found tying another one tight around my leg. That seemed to stop the bleeding until I got to the trailhead. I had no service. I was kind of by myself until I found a backpacker on the main trail, and he did have a satellite messenger and was able to send a message out where they reached search and rescue, told them my route, that I was coming out. And by the time search and rescue got to me, I was a mile away from the trailhead, and so they relieved the backpacker who stayed with me, and then the search and rescue walked the rest of the way out. They offered to carry me out, but they said that I'd be more likely to be dropped than what I was accomplishing on my own, because it's still a pretty technical trail, lots of rocks, and it's still big elevation changes. So we got down to my Jeep. One of the search and rescue volunteers jumped in my Jeep, drove me to the hospital. On the way there, she offered, you're going to get out of the hospital. Everything's going to be closed. It's a tiny town. So she offered to stop for pizza. We did do that. They had to make the pizza. So it took like 40 minutes sitting in the car waiting for that. My leg started bleeding through again. So I got blood all over my car. And by the time I got to the hospital, I ate a couple pieces. And the doctor was very upset with me because I apparently needed surgery and needed to have anesthesia, which can't do that with anything in your stomach, or you really should not. So I ended up at the hospital for the night, and they did a whole bunch of locals on my leg, trying to numb it up and clean it out the best they could before actually being able to do a surgery. Poking my bone and showing me what I did, and it's the last time I need to see that. But I had a surgery that morning, and then from there is recovery time, and it ended up ending my running streak, which I had going for over 5 years, at least 7 miles a day, and kind of really threw off my plans for racing for that year. And so I went from a runner to a volunteer, and I still was at almost all of the events except for one that I was planning on, and really kind of saw a different side of the races. Actually, I'm not sure which I like more.
And that is absolutely wild. I've never actually seen a mountain goat, and that's been on my bucket list, but I think I might rethink that now.
Just keep them beneath you.
Okay, that's crazy. So, I mean, as you're self-extracting, wow, 12 hours, like what's going through your mind? Like, are you considering the ramifications of it? Like, are you thinking about, wow, am I ever going to run again? Or are you just totally in shock, fight versus flight, just trying to get help?
A little bit of everything. The beginning of it was definitely shock. I'd say the first couple hours, the adrenaline shot through the roof, and you can feel your heart beating like crazy. Where I was, there's so many switchbacks, and so I'm just looking at this trail beneath me, and the trail that goes way over there, and I'm like, the quickest way is for me to just like roll down this mountain, not hobble half a mile that way, just half a mile that way, and then just go back and forth. So, what I ended up doing half the time was just kind of getting on my butt and just scooting down the mountain, because that was quicker than me trying to hobble back and forth on these switchbacks. And I realized just how high up I was because of that. I didn't think I thought I had maybe 2 miles from the kind of valley floor, and it ended up being like 6.
So Adam, when did this actually happen? What was like the date or the month or whatever?
July 8th of 24.
So this was July of 24. What did recovery look? So that's crazy. So you ran, this was July of 24, and was your first race back the Arizona Monster?
Not quite. So the recovery period was a couple weeks of nothing, and then after that, they didn't put any hardware or any kind of casting into my legs. It was as much pain tolerance as I could bear, and so I really pushed to get everything back moving as quick as I could. And within a month, I was at Bigfoot volunteering in the woods for 6 days. So I was on my feet the entire time there, and that was the first time I actually tried to start running a little bit. It was painful, but I could feel that running motion coming back and just kind of breaking apart the scar tissue. And so that was really good. So in August, I was starting to move a little bit more, starting to run a little bit. And I also teach yoga. And when I went and taught a yoga class, I reopened the it was not fully closed. So I reopened the scar. And at some point, a staph infection got in there. So I actually had surgery again in August, like around August. It put me in the hospital. It was an emergency surgery, put me in the hospital for 4 days. I had red lines coming up to my lymph nodes. And that's why I went to the emergency room. And so I was in the hospital for 4 days. They recut the IT band in order to clean underneath it and clear out some infected tissue. Then I had it felt like an entirely different recovery after that, because the anesthesia and all the drugs, it just felt like it never cleared my body that well. Through September, kind of same recovery and trying to move around, trying to continue to break up scar tissue, rebuild the muscles and emotions. And so I volunteered at Moab last year. I ran an aid station. And so from there, I stayed down. I spent some time in Leadville and then went to Javelina again last year. And that was my first race back. I spent 4 loops pushing it, and then I ran out of time because I had a flight scheduled for a work conference. So I ended up leaving and having my first DNF with 6 hours left in the race.
So you had a different cutoff than everyone else because of a flight. That's crazy. So I mean, it just seems like, so Arizona Monster was your first finish after but I mean, you were at Javelina, you were volunteering at these races. I mean, it's just crazy to think that happened in July, and then what happened again with having to recut the IT ban and the staph infection, and then like to go into such a big 2025 is, I mean, it's, I don't know. As someone who also, like, I had 2 hip surgeries. Actually, today is my 10-year anniversary from my hip surgeries. That's pretty cool. Maybe it's 9. It's 9 years. And like, I went with the 3rd surgeon I met with, because it's just like, I mean, not to sound like, conspiracy theoristy or what, but like, medicine and doctors, they're not all knowing. They're not perfect. Like everyone has their own sort of instruction manual, and like, obviously we should seek and trust like medical counsel, but like, it's just so fascinating how different everyone is, and how it's not always, the recommended medical path is not always the best one for you. Yeah. So it's wild that that happened, that you had that experience, and then what you've gone on to accomplish, which let's dive into that. So you finished Tahoe, obviously, with the timing of it in 2024, and then ended up deferring Bigfoot and Moab. How did 2025 evolve into what it became, which at this point in October of 2025 is 9 200s to date?
Yeah, you're right. So I did defer the rest of the Triple Crown. I volunteered to make up my Tahoe, and so that was covered. The other deferrals were for Summit and Divide, and then Monster I was already registered for, and then from there I was on the wait list for Cocodona. But I work with Speedland, and they are one of the major sponsors of Cocodona, and so they were able to help me get into Cocodona and cover that for me. So that added Cocodona for me, and then Tahoe was part of the plan with the Triple Crown. Summit was deferred, so that was added in there. Bigfoot was next 8 days later because of the changes schedules from Summit from 24 to 25. So that was a quick turnaround.
I'll throw in that Adam and I went for a run together in Boulder somewhere in between those 8 days, probably around day 3 or 4 after Summit, before Bigfoot. And I mean,
It
he was
wasn't an
moving.
easy run. We still went up. Where did we
Yeah,
go up? We went up
we
to.
went we went up Sanitas. We climbed one of the smaller Boulder mountains, and it was like 10 miles.
Yeah.
And he was moving pretty darn well. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah. That was a good run. So Bigfoot was deferred. The one that I really did add on my own was Oregon. And that was last minute. I had some schedule change free up, and I didn't have to be in Colorado, so I ended up having the free time from work and the opportunity to do Oregon, which I'm looking back on it now. They're not going. I don't think they're doing Oregon going forward, at least not for the near future because of the fire. And so that was a really cool experience to have been able to do, because I don't know if it will ever happen again. And so I was glad that I got to do that. And there's more about Oregon. That's a wild race by itself of how it went this year. I was also already then registered for the Divide, and Mammoth was new, that was added this year, that a different sponsor, Peak Performance Campers, who built, if you ever see my truck driving around, it stands out. It's a giant, tall transformer. It's red. And they built me a camper that goes on the back of that. And so they put me in to Mammoth as kind of our deal. And so that was an added event as well. And then following that was always going to be Moab. So that's how I ended up with 9 on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely crazy. I don't think we have time to go into 9 different races here, but maybe can you just rapid fire go through each one, and maybe in a couple sentences just describe something unique about each event?
Yeah, sure.
I'd love to hear your favorite memory or one of your top moments from each of the 9.
Yeah, the best part about all of the 200s is every time I run a 200, it's always unique and it stands out for some reason, even if it's the same race as prior years. Easter, though, was unique and new and an inaugural event and had its own unique qualities, being a 300-mile race, being in a new location. What stands out to me more than anything was it was the first real race back. Like, I did have Alina, but I did it like not really expecting to be able to do it. Monster was the first race back where I was like, okay, this is the distance I want to be able to do. Can my leg do it? And so I pushed in the beginning, ran with the top athletes, then kind of blew up on myself because that's what I do. And then by day 3 or 4, I turned around and was going fast again, feeling great. The things that stand out to me is it really highlighted that I prefer trails and really prefer mountains. And the best memories about that was being with my crew. I spent so many hours at aid stations just hanging out and having fun, not even caring about the race. And that was probably one of the best approaches mentally to start off the year for me, because it wasn't about the time, it wasn't about the race. It was just about the adventure with those people. And I can't forget some of those memories. It was really great. And some of the pacing and just waking up after a dirt nap and sunrise coming up, or hanging out in the back of a trailer, it's always going to stick with me. But Cocodona was totally opposite. It felt like this in many ways. This was my 3rd Cocodona, and it was a rainy year. I thought that was amazing on the first day, getting up in the first 30 through the desert into the Bradshaws without all the sun, and it felt like things were going really well. The second day for me, and we shared some miles, actually, Kevin, there. That was fun to catch up. And I think that's where we really actually kind of met, I would say. But that second day going into Jerome from whatever mountain that is.
Mingus.
Station. Yeah, Mingus. Yeah, down through Mingus, that was brutal. It was probably one of the harder, muddiest, rainiest trail sections I've done. And that's a long part of Cocodona. It's one of the longest parts. Luckily, I had an amazing pacer that was the most bubbly, fun out. She was just bouncing around, having a blast in the rain. And so my spirit was up the entire time until I got to the aid station when it was still freezing. And so I was like, oh, crap, I can't stay here at all. I got to get out of here. With Cocodona, it was, I always kind of make mistakes there. It's like a race that I know how to do, but I don't execute well on. Like this year, I slept for 3 hours because I forgot to set an alarm, and that felt great. My last quarter of the race or half of the race is freaking fast, but that was not my plan. I actually needed to keep moving if I wanted to have beat my times from last year. But it's always, I mean, I love the geography and the changes and really the environment of Cocodona. And it's a big production. Like if you want to go to the big show, Cocodona is a big show. It is going to be really beautiful. You're going to see the lake. You're going to be doing, I hope one day we get back to doing a loop, but it's a type of out and back that I really feel is enjoyable because it doesn't feel like an out and back in a lot of ways. It's two different out and backs, right? So it's two different halves of the race. And if you get past that first 100K, then it feels like the rest of the race is kind of easy to me. This year, the theme of the race is no one can breathe and everyone's coughing up everything inside them. And it took a lot of people out. I remember coughing up blood by the end of it. I had an amazing crew person, Abby, who then also jumped on and paced me a ton of miles at the end. And we spent a lot of time together. It was fantastic. But yeah, Tahoe is always a really cool place, and I love being there. I went from there and went to pace my friend in Broken Arrow. It's just a cool time of year to get into the mountains and kind of kick off the summer, I think. From there was my longest break between races. I think I had 5 weeks. And so that was a big recovery. And then I went into Summit after that. Summit's Colorado. I grew up in Colorado. I grew up in all those mountains. I knew the area really well, but I haven't ever really been in the backcountry ski or not skiing. So it was cool to see the summits and run around the sections there during the summer and really get a feel of that. It's a smaller race, so you can kind of have fun being on your own. I was able to push a lot of the sections and ended up having really kind of fantastic pieced together race. And I had my family there all come up from Colorado. We had a huge Airbnb, and just having that support and knowing that you have so many people kind of watching you and being there for you, I think that helps mentally too. But yeah, I mean, ran into a bear, had a little chicken, play chicken with the bear, and eventually it went up the mountain, luckily. I saw a moose. That's a cool one that I really like. I'll go back to Summit, make sure to bring my own food. I'll go back to Summit. And then Bigfoot is in the Pacific Northwest where I'm actually located. And so for me, it's a little bit more like being close to home in my own terrain and really old growth type of forest, get deep into the woods. And then every now and then you pop out on a ridgeline and you look around and you're like, oh, I was over there a second ago. Now I'm going over there. And you do that for a couple of days and kind of go through a little experience looking inward. It feels like Bigfoot is always tough. This year we had a reroute, and so I felt like it was a faster race. I think a lot of the times show that it was a faster race, both in conditions that were perfect, and the course itself I think had a little bit less that kind of put out some of those faster times. For me, it's my new PR is like, I don't know what it was, like 56, 58, I don't know, below 60, which is crazy. So I had a great time there. Again, had a really good crew. It's the first time using the camper, and so got to experience actually having an amazing bed follow me around, and that was fantastic. Yeah, I always go back to Bigfoot. I might do that again next year just because I like it so much without committing to it. So then I mentioned that I jumped into Oregon. I signed up to it 2 days before the start. I sent an email to the director, and she's like, you have to decide this in the next 5 minutes because I'm packing up the trailer and heading out. So I decided to go for it. Drove over there, had zero plan, never looked at the course. None of my friends wanted to go out for another weekend or already were busy. So I had no pacers or crew and didn't even bother with drop bags really. Andrea Moore's partner did offer to carry a drop bag for me. So I think I saw her once and was able to change shoes. Other than that, I was just on my own and carried what I had. Had a pair of socks that I changed back and forth to between, I don't know, like 4 or 5 times, just kind of shook them out. But it was nice to have some changes. That course itself is incredibly beautiful, especially the 30 miles that you're going through the ravine or the canyon down by the river. I mean, the walls have waterfalls coming out of them. There's weeping walls everywhere. There's moss-covered rocks that you can sleep on. I spent a morning on, just woke up to a bird chirping, and it was like in a Disney movie or something. It was fantastic. The aid stations are some of the best stocked and supported I've experienced. They had amazing food. I still remember eating rice bowls and some of the volunteers offering to, I mean, I pick up rocks when I'm, what else am I going to do? I'm looking at rocks for hours. So if I find a cool rock, I'll pick it up, throw it in my pack. Sometimes I end up with way too many rocks and I'm just carrying way too much weight. And one of the volunteers offered to take my rocks back to the headquarters for me so I didn't have to. And well, by the end of the race, the last day, I didn't see anybody at all the entire time. It was so spread out, and I was in fifth or something. Within the last 13 miles, I was just seeing all these helicopters go back and forth into the reservoir that I was right next to. And they couldn't really tell what's going on. They're obviously pulling water, taking it somewhere to some fire. I get to the last aid station and they're like, do you know what's going on? Fire? I don't know. They're like, yeah, we're closing the course, pulling all the runners, but you're going to be the last person that's going to be allowed to finish the Oregon 200. And I was like, that's really shitty for everybody else, but I'm thankful I get to because I'm 5 miles from the finish. And luckily, I did get to meander down the trail and kind of relish in that moment. But it's horrible for so many other people because that particular race is, for many, their first 200. And they were doing great and then only got to so many miles and they didn't get to finish. I don't believe anyone got a DNF. I think that the course just closed and the race just closed as wherever they are. But it's not what their original goal was. One thing that's unique about these two is any plan you have will always change. So you have to be willing to adapt and accept what's thrown at you, right? I was fifth and dead last, which I don't think will ever happen again. But that was quite an experience for sure. Getting into that finish line was surreal in many ways, and a weird feeling of guilt of finishing, but not others being able to. Yeah, I feel really bad for that organization not being able, for just a bunch of bad luck, really, because they put their heart and soul into it. After Oregon was Divide up in Canada, which is a very remote, very rugged, very technical, challenging race. It's probably the hardest one in my opinion. It depends on what your skill sets are, but it will test you mentally, physically, and the weather's not going to assist in any way either. For this first part of the race, you're on ridge lines and there's no fall zones all over the place, so you have to be very aware. You have to be very careful about your footing. Otherwise, I mean, it's amazing that they can do that because at some point somebody slips. I hope not, but it seems too likely. I don't know. I'm afraid of heights, so that's what goes through my head. There's grizzly bears everywhere. We had a reroute I think you had a podcast, you had them on there. We had a reroute with a grizzly bear at one of the lakes. I was in the aid station right before it, so I got held back at the aid station until they got the reroute figured out. Not as long as some people, or the person right next to me was there for like 3 hours, but I was held for 45 minutes, I think, and then was allowed to go on the reroute. That force, what I remember most about it is I don't normally run with people. It gets pretty spread out in the part of the flow of the course of where I am, and so I might see someone, but it's usually just, doing a boomerang thing back and forth, or you see them at aid stations. This particular course, I had people run. I ran with the same group of people for about 185 miles, and that was special. I mean, we've built a connection that is unlike anything I've ever had, and it was very interesting because we started to do this like pacing thing with each other, where one person would be feeling really good, but everyone else would be feeling crappy. But that person who's on their flow would actually just carry the whole group, and we stuck together. It was amazing. Now it might be the bears in the woods that were scaring us to stay together, but it worked really well there. And the few times that I kind of broke away, it didn't feel quite right to be alone. And so you kind of fade back or whatever. And that was until the very last 15 miles, we were all one group. And then actually the female that was with us, she ended up getting first place. I think the other guy that was there, I think he made his way up to, I want to say, I ended up having back problems. My back started spazzing out every time I ran. And so I walked in the last 13 miles in the middle of a rainstorm, which was miserable, but it's sometimes how it goes. Yeah, I highly recommend the Divide. It's one of two races that I know of that actually has prize money as well, which I'm in favor for. Yeah. I think that races can lean into that a little bit more, considering the cost.
I'll interrupt you mostly because we don't usually make people, it's fitting because you've done 9 200s, but we don't usually make people like do a 20-minute question. But to go through 9 races and cover your highs and your memories I just wanted to give you a break from talking mostly. But Divide is one that I won't speak for Peter, but I'm considering for next year. I kind of want to continue like on a kick of new races. You know, I've done Cocodona a bunch of times, repeated Bigfoot before. Mammoth was my first new one in a while, and I liked it. It was fun to be at a new race and experience something new. At this point already, I mean, looking at next year, if you're me and your goal is a new 200, the options are quite slim. Some of the bigger international ones are sold out or not able to get into. And then there's just not that many other options because I've done a lot of them. So right now for me, it's Race Across Scotland or Divide. And I kind of want to do Badwater and UTMB as well. And I haven't like broke down the finances of these, which sounds impossible, but yeah, I probably can't do, you know, I'm not Adam Williams, so I can't do all of them physically. So it's probably Badwater Divide that makes the most sense.
Because Badwater's July, right?
Yeah, Badwater's July. So Badwater would be a little close to UTMB, like less than a month. And they're just so different, right?
Yeah.
And then Race Across Scotland is also 2 weeks from UTMB and 2 weeks from Badwater. It's like right in the middle of the two. So anyway.
It's a lot of travel.
Yeah, it's a lot of travel, a lot of money, and like Divide is I could drive there. Like Divide is shaping up to be up there with my choice. Everyone says it's really, really good that I've spoken to, so I'm excited to check it out more, and we'll see. Maybe pull the trigger on it next year.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a really cool route, really cool race. Keep an eye on those dates as you're thinking about it, because I did hear some discussion about them moving the date, swapping it to July,
Oh, interesting.
which would throw everything for you.
That would throw everybody, but who knows? Maybe then I could do like Divide UTMB or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, then Divide's literally training you for UTMB.
Right. That would maybe I'll reach out to them, see if that rumor has legs, because that would change everything. I'm also committed to pacing Run Rabbit, like no matter what. Like that would take precedence. I have a friend who's going after 5 finishes, and it's a whole big competition thing with friends, and like so even Divide, if it stayed where it was, I would be 6 days removed pacing him, and he doesn't know that I'm considering it. So I might be a shitty pacer. Let's get on to the next one for you. So we're up to Mammoth. We're on the 8th
race. So yes, Mammoth was brand new this year, so it's kind of again another unknown. I didn't really look at the course at all. I just knew that it was going to be in Eastern Sierra around Bakersville, I think, wherever that is, and wherever Mammoth is. I actually didn't even know until I plugged into Google where I was going to drive to, and so I have friends that live out there and said it's beautiful, and that's good enough to trust. So I got down there, I don't know, like 5 days early, and started running around some of the course, at least the lower section. So I knew what the tech or the trail was going to be like, and it was immediately apparent to me that it was very runnable. The course is very flowy, and the trails are very pristine, really. So I knew it was going to be a fast course, and with the competition, it was shaping up to be really kind of a go out and go all out. And so that made it interesting, especially in the beginning, is that energy kind of carried everybody forward. And for myself, I was recovering from Divide. I actually wasn't moving or running without pain until a day before. And so it wasn't until I was on one of the trails, looking at the aspens, watching the storms go around, and then I was like, oh, I don't have any pain in my back anymore. And that was a huge bonus for me, because I was really worried that this was going to be a long slug just to fight my way to the finish. I was going to be out there for days. It ended up being kind of my normal style of running, where go out a little bit fast, and then kind of settle into my own pace, find a rhythm, and then try to stay up on my food and nutrition so that my day 2, which is always my struggle day, doesn't kind of slow me down too much or put me too far behind. Sleep caught me this time a little bit more than usual. It was a sleep and cold, and it was in a section that I know. I went into the Lee Vining aid station, and I lost it. Like I went off course. I walked right downtown, past the aid station, back past the turn, and I stayed in Lee Vining for 2 days. I knew where that aid station was. And so it was kind of frustrating that I was just wandering around in the middle of this town trying to figure out what it was until I pulled up the course map that you gave me 30 seconds before the start. And then finally found the aid station, but I needed sleep at that point. Like I just wasn't thinking. So once I got that, I picked up a surprise pacer, Josh Coleman. He surprised me. I didn't know that he would be available or around. He crewed me, threw me in his van to sleep, gave me some leg compression pants, and then from there he paced me for 30 miles, which was really special. We've shared a number of miles, similar schedule, I guess, or we keep running it. We've been running into each other a lot this summer. We spent that day together basically, and he took me all the way to June Lake. From June Lake, I was back to my normal self, and I was able to really kind of finish the entire race strong at a pace, climbing up and down the mountains that I love doing at the end of a race, really higher or faster than most people would think. So I was able to make up some really good ground and kind of finish in a good place. I think I don't remember the time, actually. 69 hours. Yeah. It was just under 70. But beautiful course, amazing organization, the directors, Tim and Hillary. It's very clear that they are trail runners. It's very clear that they love the sport. It's very clear that they love the runners, and they have experience with Trail Fast, and they brought that to the 200. The 200 distance itself is unique, and I know that they're going to learn some of the unique qualities of it going forward. But that race, I think, is going to compete with every other race or every other 200 going forward, and is only going to see some really good space. Then 2 weeks later, or 10 days later, whatever it was, I had to be down here in Moab, and I guess I'm not in Moab right now, but into Moab, and I was feeling good after Mammoth. Body felt really well. And so I was always just joking around with Killian and Brody that they're going to have some extra competition. Not quite my style. I'm not going to ever be up there with them. As it turns out, I was moving pretty well. I kept a really good pace. The weather this year was tough. We had a Moab with rain and mud and cold temperatures and wind, and it was intense. It took a lot of people out. It made the first day totally different than anyone expected. I know that the big thing to do is do heat training for Moab. That didn't matter at all. If you focused on heat training, it was pointless. It wasn't hot at all. And so we had mud that stuck to your feet, and you were walking around with bricks. We had mud that was slipperier than ice, and you were falling. I mean, I fell twice just down going into Dry Valley. For sections coming out of Mount Shea, where I remember just looking up at the stars and kind of just getting real kind of dizzy, not dizzy, but like lost in the stars because the clouds were moving so fast. Like I was watching the moon, and then I thought the stars were all moving around, but it was really just the clouds moving fast. It was super weird. It was an amazing experience. I saw one shooting star. I always look for shooting stars, and even with all the clouds and all the weather, I still managed to see a shooting star. Deer. In the last day, coming down from the LaSalle's, we had such wind that actually a tree fell and almost hit me. It was a big old aspen, like 3 feet wide or whatever. And it just blew over and fell 2 feet from me. And me and my pacer, Lizzie, actually jumped on and paced me the last 40 miles. Didn't have a plan to. She wasn't actually crewing me, but she was there every time at every aid station, and then jumped on the last 40 miles. And we were going up the last climb in the LaSalle's, and this tree just came down and almost took us out. It's nuts. It was kind of a dangerous section. The weather made everything really dangerous. Not to the point of stopping the race, not to the point of you're scared of for your life or death or anything like that, but it's definitely an added risk that anytime you're outside or in the wilderness, you just have to be aware of. Finishing the race was pretty special because you kind of, I don't know if it's fully hit me yet, just having completed all of these races together, maybe on a drive home when I actually finally do that and I have time to sit and think about it. Even then, like, it was just closing out Moab again and being out there, because that was one of my first races in 22. That one's always special for me. And so that was really nice. And then like all the destination trail races, I just turned around and started volunteering, holding the camera, helping finishers get whatever they need and just moving them around. Spending time at headquarters and the finish line is probably one of the most enjoyable parts of it.
Well, I hope you do start reflecting just to realize what you did. I mean, people, set out to do 5, and it's a huge challenge, and people, struggle to do that. So 9 is, crazy. But I think with the 9, you uniquely have a perspective on doing all of them together. So really curious. I think listeners would benefit. So assuming no crazy weather, that each race kind of is typical, like how would you rate them easiest to hardest? You already said, yeah.
Yeah, I actually would say without weather, I actually have Monster as one of the easiest ones. I think that it's not so unattainable because of the distance. I think you just have extra days. So if you kind of plan your days, you'll be, it's totally doable. There's enough sections of that are filler that the distance doesn't actually make a difference. Tahoe is, for me, fairly easy. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but I would put that as another lighter one. I actually found Mammoth to be an easier one. It would be a good starter 200 because of just the way that the course is right now. Now, if they got permitting to go further into the mountains, a little bit further west, that would dramatically change it. The kind of the middle ones, the middle toughness would probably begin more with Summit. You have altitude to deal with, you have a lot of climbing, but the trails themselves are really quite manageable. There are long sections between aid stations, so you do have to be comfortable with that. I would actually put Moab into the middle group as well. I feel that it's partly because of the beauty of the changing geography that it becomes easy, because the geography itself makes it feel like it's broken into sections that you feel you can do, like, I just need to get to here. Now I've done that. Now I just need to get to here. And you make progress pretty manageably through there. And so I think Moab is also into that middle group. Cocodona I would also throw into there. The support and the way that it flows through different towns and the different geographies is also in that middle group. And Oregon, I know it's not going to be the same trail. That's probably on the easier side, but it's kind of tricky because there's so much of the same forest that I don't know. It's an out and back, and that either is easier or it's harder. At first, you have to turn around and you feel like it's a long ways that you just went. But then as you make progress, you know where you just were, and you feel like there's not that much left. I would say that then the harder ones are going to be Divide, Bigfoot. I feel like I'm missing one.
I think that was all of them. I think you got them all.
Okay. You're going.
Do you
out
think
makes it a lot harder?
Yeah. Do you think, like, I often wonder, like, Divide's one of the only ones that's like actually 200. I think like Summit is close, and so is Oregon, but like, Tahoe has been, a few miles over. Bigfoot maybe was not this year, but often is. Like, does it feel nice to stop at, like, is that noticeable that it's like short for a 200, whereas like a lot of these are just like tacking on an extra 10, 15, 20 miles without really acknowledging it?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking about it, like you add up all these periods, it equals whatever, 90 miles or something. But then they're not actually that. That's not what the distance is. So some of them are short, some of them are long. In the end, it all evens out if you do all of them. But if you were to just do one of them, we'll use this year's Bigfoot. I think that was short with the reroute. It can be like, if your goal is to reach 200 miles, that can be frustrating because now suddenly you're not at 200. I know folks have they reach the finish line and then they go and do laps until they get to 200. I'm not going to do that. I finished the race. My goal was to do the race. The distance is fine. I will be happy with whatever it is. When it's over, it is kind of, it's annoying to think about at the beginning. But after you start going, when you're at mile 180, 190, 205, it's all the same. And so I don't know. It's temporary.
Yeah. Adam, you said, so you're back on your 7-mile-a-day streak. So you're doing that even, I think you finished Moab, and the next day you're out there. I saw on Strava something you went back and ran along the river. how much, like, and you mentioned you teach yoga as well. I know yoga is a big part of your day to day. Like, how much do you think that active recovery plays a role in your ability to like rebound and physically get ready for the next big thing? Like, you're moving every day, motion is lotion kind of thing. Like, is there anything else you do that you like would give credit to for your ability to rebound and stay healthy and complete these?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know for sure that staying active and just adding the motion really is huge. I feel it immediately. Moab's a perfect example. I mean, I felt stiff, sore, even at the finish line, standing around helping people or sitting, and my muscles were all tight. They were inflamed. I could feel the joints hurting and stuff. But as soon as I went for the sunset run, I did a little bit of trail, I did a little bit of climbing, and then I went to the finish, or I went up the river and caught some other finishers and kind of ran with them a little bit. So both mentally choosing a run that really resets you mentally and is also making me work muscles again. I felt 100%, 180 degrees different as soon as I got done with that run. It's immediately noticeable. I mean, you mentioned yoga. I think that's always been really amazing cross training. It has helped me a lot, helped me with injury prevention. So it's hard to quantify it there when I'm not getting injured from running. It's hard to quantify that. But I believe that active routine, whether it's yoga or, stretching or mobility or something like that, you need some sort of cross training to that extent if you're going to be doing high mileage consistently. And then one thing I do try to work in and focus on is nutrition. I try to make sure I'm having lots of protein, lots of recovery type of vitamins and things like that. I'm not well versed in that area to know if it's paying off or not. I just kind of listen to those that know more than me.
It's a good policy.
Yeah.
Adam, I feel like this could be easily be a 2 or 3 hour episode. We'll have to have you back on at some point with whatever comes next for you. A couple of things before we let you go. Well, one, I mean, just congratulations. Like, what an epic year. I find personally, and I think it happens to a lot of people other than me, is like when we're surrounded by each other, you, me, Peter, and all of our peers, everyone at these races, I think it can be so hard to get you can lose the perspective so easily of like just how hard these things are and how amazing it is for anyone who even steps up to the line here. Yeah. So I just think like the fact that you did 9 of them, yeah, people will say it's crazy, it's nuts, but it's really impressive and an incredible accomplishment. Doing 1, I think, is also, just incredible. And I think it's so easy to lose that sight with like how regular we've made this seem for our small niche,
Yeah.
So I hope you said, yeah, it hasn't hit yet, but I hope when you drive home and get home and, the reality of what you've done is something you're really proud of, because I think it's super cool.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Real quick on gear. Man, I know I have like a ton of gear that I've used for these races. I imagine like putting it, and I don't want to put any like brands on blast or anything, but like you've put things through the ringer here for the entire year now at 9-200s. Like, is there anything that you've had to replace or anything that's held up really well, or like what have been some of your like gear, light bulb moments where you're like, man, this stuff is good, or maybe I need to look elsewhere or replace?
Yeah. One of the hardest parts about the 200 distance is your logistics, and that goes into planning crew, planning pacing, planning your miles, planning your drop bags, planning your gear, and just packing it all together. So one of the things that I don't think many people have mentioned is actually, or just if you're doing a drop bag, make sure it's a dry bag, a dry pack. Like, don't use cloth bags. It's going to rain, and everything you have in there is going to get soaked. So I don't know why that's not mentioned more often, or even like a requirement for drop bags. You have to have a dry bag. It doesn't matter the brand as long as it's actually a dry bag. That's something that I've found to be useful. The headlamp that I had originally, whether it's just got old or the battery, and so the battery started not working as well, I've had to replace that with something that actually has an interchangeable battery, and that's been super helpful, very reliable. And so I can have one battery charging, the other one actually running through the night, have them both. And so I know that for sure if I'm going to be going on, I'll use Moab this year. We had 112 miles without crew. And I didn't have to worry about a drop bag because I could just take that battery for that light, knowing that I might have to have it for 2 nights because I could change them both out. So having something that is efficient in that kind of setup is really helpful for me, like a headlamp. The shoes that I would always kind of support, Speedlands, they do an amazing job building a shoe for high distances. Their GS platform is really, really well designed for something over 100 miles. My feet, I don't have any blisters. I'll put it that way. I do wear toe socks and I do take care of my feet, and I do avoid puddles as much as I can and for as long as I can. And if my feet get wet, I take my shoes off and I'll change my socks as much as I can. But I also don't have hot spots from the shoes. And so I think the cushioning really helps out a lot. I think that the ingredients that they put into their shoes really makes them last more than just one race. I mean, I had a new pair of shoes that I used for Cocodona that lasted through Bigfoot. And then I have a new pair of shoes that I got around Bigfoot or for Divide that I still have. And so they do carry their weight through many, many miles. I really like Path Projects. They've supported me as an amazing company, as just as an organization and their values. When I got hurt, they sent me a gift card for $300 so that when I got back to running, I could have some new gear. And it's that kind of mentality and that kind of mission that I think really demonstrates their value and their dedication to the runners that they care about the most. Their products to me are really good. Wadi shirts are fantastic. They're lightweight. They dry fast. I would always recommend them. I use the Killian pants. They're super light. If anything, I would make that zipper go up higher so I can get them over my shoes. As far as products that have been a problem, I've gone through different types of iterations of underwear type of things, trying to figure out the best thing that doesn't chafe. There's not one solution, I think, at least not for me. I always come back to like Desiderm, just some baby cream, and then try not to forget it. Shocks, right? I'll put on shock headphones. I think being able to hear everything around you while trying to distract yourself, if you want to listen to something, is good. Or just have them on, and if you get a phone call, you can answer it. There's been many races when I've had them on and I didn't ever listen to anything. So they're comfortable regardless. And they do, their battery life is pretty long now. They've gotten up to 11 hours, I think. So they'll last you through most of your sections. Sunglasses, I go with cheap stuff. I scratch them up too much. I swear, as soon as I find a new pair of sunglasses, the second I go running with them, I just drop them onto rocks or whatever. So I can't say that I would ever spend money on sunglasses again.
All right.
And then gloves, anything that can like flip over your hand, give you the mitten, and add a little waterproof feature to it is super helpful. I use Lecky poles. I'm way more hesitant around the Lecky poles or carbon poles in general after getting hit, because my pole did break. And I'm pretty sure based off of the scar, like half of the scar is from the Lecky pole being cut and slicing into me. And so now I have this weird mentality or mental picture of like a Lecky pole or a carbon pole snapping and like falling on it and like stabbing myself. And I know people have done that, and it's a risk. You don't want to put all your weight on it, but they're super light.
Wow, I never thought of that. All right, so
it's all the fun things you start thinking about.
Yeah. So for next year, you mentioned, you threw out you might want to do, I can't remember, but Bigfoot. So races are on your mind, but like, how do you think about this year versus going forward? Like, was a season like this a big one and done thing, or would you ever try something like this again? Or how are you going to approach racing in the future?
Yeah. If I had the opportunity, I would absolutely do this again. I felt that it wasn't overworking my body. Actually, throughout the year, I could feel myself getting stronger at times. There's some things I would approach differently. The difference is you're not necessarily racing for competition. So like Mammoth is a good example. I would love to go back to Mammoth having more than 10 days of rest and to see what I can actually do there. But if I had the opportunity and all these races lined up again or similar ones, I would do it again. It's realistically, I don't know how that would happen. I'm not going to pay for it. So I can't do it.
Yeah, the stars would have to align again. So if anyone wants to sign Adam up for races, he will do them.
Yeah, I will always take Ultra sign up credit.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's get into our quick five, how we end every episode. So these are just a few rapid fire questions to send you off. First thing that comes to mind for you, you're going to be pulling from a lot of options. It can be from this year or previous years, but let's keep it in a 200-mile race. So what's been your highest high that you can remember? Best moment from any 200 of yours?
It's been a couple handfuls. I'll just throw out Bigfoot this year running through the Green Tunnel. It's thrown down 7-minute miles, and just that high of blasting through the bushes because it is overgrown and kind of dropping my pacer a little bit. Who is like a freaking track all-star. Like he does these 10Ks, his fastest 50Ks of 4 hours and 20 minutes. So he's quick. And to at 200 miles to be dropping him was special to me. And really just flying through there. It's my favorite way to run and finish a race. Mammoth was kind of like that this year, going back in time. 2022, Moab was like that as well.
What about the flip side of that? What was your lowest low in a 200?
Lowest low, I could say the opposite of that. Well, actually, there was a super low moment for me in Monster. And I don't know what necessarily the emotions were that came over, but I forget what mileage. It might have been like 230 or something. Whatever that aid station is, that is around there. It's the aid station that's kind of on a hill. And then from that aid station, you go down and you go under the highway through a tunnel. But going into that aid station, I saw the aid station, but then you have to go up this hill, and I was following my pacer, and I don't know if it was the music or whatever, but I just almost got angry, I guess. It's like a depressed, angry sadness, and it was just overwhelming. And my crew had kind of come down the hill to congratulate me. I made it to another stop, and they were all psyched to see me, and I was not having any of it. I needed everything to just go away for a second. And it all passed. I got to sit down. I had some food. I slept there, and it goes away. But that to me was a very intense moment.
About favorite food in a 200. So if you had to do one of these things on like one item of food over and over and over again, what would it be?
Yeah, it'd be musubi, some rice and Spam.
Nice.
Now,
Nice.
I've only known one race to actually do any Spam and rice, and it happened to be the Path Project's aid station at Mammoth, and I ate a lot of that. But when I'm on my own, I've been in Hawaii. That's when I first found it, and just grab some gas station musubi and go out on the trails. This stuff packs perfectly, and it's just full of carbs and salt, and it's delicious. It hits well.
Yeah, that'd actually be my answer to that question as well. You got to do Hurt, then that's what they serve at Hurt aid stations.
Oh, yeah. And then there's some really good miso soup. So broth is always an option. I don't know why miso soup isn't up there.
Agreed. Okay, and then we talked a lot about gear already, but what would your favorite piece of gear be, assuming everything else but this one piece was just generic?
I mean, it's hard not to say shoes because that's like the biggest thing you think about. I'm always thinking about my feet. Every time my foot touches the ground, I'm like, did that feel weird? Did that feel weird? I can't just get that out of my mind. If I had a shoe that like made me not think about the footsteps or not think about anything related to my legs or feet, that would be awesome.
Adam, last question for you. Most people have the same answer. We're pretty sure we know the answer to yours. It's the theme of the podcast. Have you found your own personal distance to empty yet?
Not yet, but that is honestly why I keep doing them. I keep adding the distances, and I keep going bigger and bigger to see where the edge is.
Yeah, it's fun looking for it. It's fun looking for it and not finding it.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to get there, but I like seeing where it's not.
Yeah, awesome. Adam, congrats again, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate being on and joining you guys. It's been a lot of fun.
So, Peter, did you think Adam was going to beat your Javelina time by quite so much?
I thought he would beat me. I didn't realize he'd beat me by, 2 hours? But that's fine. He's an amazing athlete. And yeah.
I was surprised too. I mean, just the level of fatigue that must be in his legs, and like, to have such a a great performance just 2 weeks after Moab 240. Pretty awesome. So yeah, he's the proud owner of a new distance empty hat, fair and square.
Yeah. I think scientists should study him because 200 seem to break most people down, but he just absorbs them and gets stronger.
Yeah, he does. He did seem to like hit a stride and just keep trucking. So I maybe a brand will pick up on this and get, he said he would do it again if he had the logistics and the costs to supplement it. So if anyone's listening and wants to support Adam to run 15 200s next year, get in touch with him.
Yeah, well, he did North America. He's got to go on tour, do all the European races.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I saw he signed up for a Backyard Ultra too. We just recently recorded with the hike with Punisher, Troy Croxdale, who finished the calendar year Triple Crown of the long trails, border to border. And I saw Troy is doing a Backyard Ultra, and he got Adam to sign up. So we'll maybe release Troy's episode next week, and then we can see how that backyard goes. I think that's like happening this weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If they can go, if Adam can go 200 miles there, he can get his 10th 200 of the year.
That's wild.
Yeah. All right, before we get into some categories, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our Discord channel and our Patreon subscription. So we've had a subscription for a little while here. It's going really awesome. We love hanging out in the Discord and chatting with our subscribers. We're not changing anything. These episodes are still free, so there's no pressure to sign up if it's not something you're interested in. But if you dig the podcast and you want a little more engagement, a little more content, we have monthly bonus episodes, an active Discord channel that's been super fun and supportive. We have a group coaching tier, which is a pretty good value, I think. I'd love for you to at least go check these things out. The Patreon link is in the show notes, and we've just been having a blast with it. So it would mean a lot if you went and took a look at it. And if you feel like joining us, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some categories. Peter, is there anything you'd like to do?
Well, I think my favorite activity is switching gears. Can always do that. So, yeah, this is a passage that's come up a couple times recently, so I thought I'd just read it straight from the source. So, this section is my ritual of applying sunscreen the night before. So this is from my book, Switch Gears, Puke, Rally, and Repeat. It says I'm the author. I'll let you be the judge if I actually wrote this. All right. When it comes to ultra running, I like to think of myself as a seasoned wizard. Quite the wizard of sunscreen, to be exact. Before long races, while others pore over their race strategies, nutrition plans, and hydration tactics, I prepare for battle in what I have lovingly dubbed my sunscreen ritual. This is not just for any sunscreen application. It's an event worthy of its own infomercial, or perhaps a bizarre reality show highlighting the daily struggles of a sun-phobic ultra runner. It all begins as the sun sets and I start brewing my concoction of magical sunblock to ward off the evil forces lurking in the UV shadows.
That's amazing. That's going to tie in. I think in the Troy episode, is that the one where we asked him about your sunscreen?
I should have done this next time. Oh well.
No. Now people will hopefully they'll if they haven't already heard of your insane sunscreen ritual, we'll introduce it here and touch on it again in that episode. So yeah, I don't know why you do that, but here we are.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for switching gears, Peter, and congratulations on being a published author. That's something that not many people can say.
Right. It's a bucket list item.
And who's your publisher? Booksbyanyone.com?
Pretty sure.
All right. Now for my favorite category, let's play Let's Get Deep. Let's Get Deep is a card game for couples that Peter and I play for your enjoyment on the pod. There are 3 different categories: Icebreaker, Deep, and Deeper. Peter, I'll kick you off with your icebreaker. Easy one for you. Do you prefer savory or sweet?
Good question. I mean, I like both. I think for breakfast, I like savory. I prefer that over like a muffin or something. So I'll go savory, but I mean, I love dessert too.
Okay.
All right, your icebreaker. What lapsed hobby would you like to return to?
Well, the easy answer is pickleball. I do miss pickleball. I got really into it at the beginning of this year and then hurt my Achilles and backed off. I got into it with my brother. My brother and I don't have a ton in common, so it was fun to like have something to come together with. And we were on a team and like joined a bunch of leagues and tournaments and stuff. And I was just like really, really enjoying pickleball. And then I got hurt, and now I'm like crippled with fear of returning to playing it. So I'll say pickleball. I like paddle sports, tennis, ping pong. I've always really enjoyed any paddle sport, and pickleball is a fun blend of those two that is super. I mean, I have like a pickleball pub down the street from me, and we have a bunch of like really cool indoor facilities here in Colorado. It was a lot of fun, like going and hanging out at those places.
Well, you have different shoes now. Maybe you can.
Yeah, Mount Coast pickleball shoes.
Yeah.
H1, that is a hybrid shoe.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
hybrid activity.
Yeah.
All right, deeper for you. Do you have any habits or vices that hold you back in life?
I don't know about holding me back, but I mean, I drink a lot of coffee. I think that's about
Caffeine's
it.
not a bad thing.
No, it's perfect.
How many milligrams of caffeine do you have a day? Yeah, just best guess.
300?
That's not that bad.
No, like 3 cups of coffee, I'd say.
I don't think that's a vice. I think that's a normal habit, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I'd be the first to judge you. You know that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the validation. All right. Deep for you. What do you have a love-hate relationship with?
Well, I've been doing that speed work, and man, like VO2 intervals are so hard. Like I'm finishing some of those, like hands on my knees, wheezing, hyperventilating, thinking there's no way I could go replicate that interval another 2 or 3 times, and then I'm able to go do it. And then when I'm done, just feel so spent, and like I love the feeling of like that cool down 15-20 minutes on the way home where I just like feel totally spent. So I'd say speed work. I dread doing it, put it off till later in the day. Like I really hate it, and I get like scared of going to the track or hopping on the treadmill to do it. But then when it's over, I'm like I don't really feel that way with just regular runs. Like sometimes I dread going for a regular run, sure, but like there's not that like fear or like that level of procrastination of like doing a really hard thing. And I think it's just fun as a middle-aged human to go sprint on a track.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I'm with you on that. It's fun, but daunting.
Speaking of a middle-aged human, deeper for you, Peter. Are you scared or excited about getting older?
Scared or I mean, probably a mix of the two. Like I think eventually like running will be a decline. Like I think I'm still in that phase where if I really try hard I can still set PRs and whatnot, but eventually that'll stop. So that part's scary and sucks. But at the same time, I think as I get older, ultimately I'll have the opportunity to do more things, not need to work as much. So I'm excited about having more flexibility eventually. All right, deeper for you. This one's deep. If you could choose your manner of death, what would you select?
Man, I mean, I always tell my mom, and she does listen to some of these episodes, I think, that like if I ever died like out in, trail running or fall off a cliff or in the woods or doing something I love like that, just know that I was out there by choice doing something I genuinely love, which is true. But I actually think I'd be terrified. Like if that happened, like if I broke something in the Rocky Mountains and like got stuck out there and died from exposure and all that stuff, like that would be like the worst way to go. I'd be absolutely terrified. So I think it would be something quick. There's like a French word that I think it means like call the void, that like the urge to like do like suicidal things, but like with no suicidal ideations, like just like you'd want to do them if you knew you were going to be like safe, like that you just want the thrill of it. So like driving your car off a cliff or like, that sort of thing. And I feel that a lot, like that like pull to like experience what it would feel like to like just send it. But again, not with the, no suicidal ideation involved with it. So maybe my answer would be like, I don't know, skydiving without a parachute or something, like something that's quick and like super fun until it's not.
One last fun thing, and then instantaneously.
But the thing is that
Nothing.
when you say like how you die, it's like I don't want my death to be like by choice. So it's almost like, I don't know. You'd have to know like, all right, you're dying on November 15th, 2000 whatever. So a couple hours before that, go jump out of a plane.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Death is weird.
I went there.
Yeah, that was deep, 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 deep. All right. So at the top of the episode, we mentioned continuing on with Janji and Mount to Coast and how much we love both those brands. And we really do. Like, it's been super fun partnering with them. We really appreciate the support that we've gotten from our listeners. I mean, at the end of the day, like, Janji makes great stuff, and so does Mount to Coast. Like, the shoes we've taken them 200 plus miles. Peter's run Badwater in his Mount to Coast shoes, and we've put these things to the test. So like, we're recommending them because we use them and we like them. And we want to incentivize people to support us by supporting our sponsors. So that's why we are still offering free shirts or hats to anyone who places a Janji or Mount to Coast order. If you place a Janji order, you can use code DISTANCE to save 10%. And then in the post purchase screen, there'll be a survey that says, how did you hear about Janji? You select distance to empty, or you select podcast, I'm sorry. And then the next screen, there'll be a list of their podcasts that they support. And then you select distance to empty from there. Take a screenshot of that, send it to us on Instagram or at distancetoemptypod@gmail.com. And we will send, include your address and shirt size, and we'll send you out some distance to empty swag. Same goes for Mount to Coast. It's just the code DISTANCE gets you 10% off. And the Mount to Coast shoes are like, they all range from like 150 to 170, which in today's day and age, I feel like is pretty reasonable, with like Hoka and Ultra charging like 180 to 220, depending on the model. And they offer free returns and stuff if you're on the fence about trying it. So, that's how you can get some free distance to empty swag and support us in the process. And if you've already done those things for us, we're super thankful, and we are working on like some additional swag, something different, something fun. If anyone has any ideas for new custom things, send them our way, because we'd love for you to continue using our code if you get more Mount to Coast shoes, or if you place another Janji order. Just keep showing us the love, and we'll keep the 200 plus themed episodes coming.
Yeah, I'll say with Mount to Coast, like, I think they're an even better value, because I mean they are fairly priced. It's this similar price to other running shoes, but they last longer, so you won't need to replace them as often. So
yeah, I feel like a lot of shoes say that, and I know, like, I think Adam in this episode talked about like Speedland, and those are known for like lasting a long time too. But I am not the type of person that keeps running in a pair of shoes after running a 200 miler in them. Like, that is not who I am. Like, I am if it's a destination, if I'm flying home, like from Mammoth, I may leave those shoes in the hotel room, like, put them in the trash and have some more space in the carry-on the way home. But I went and did the Taco Bell 50K in that same pair of H1s. I did speed work on the track like 3 weeks after Mammoth in that same pair. Like, the foam still had life in it, which I don't think that's happened to me in another pair of shoes.
yeah, no, same here. I've left some pairs of shoes in Heritage Square.
Yeah. For Janji too, just a heads up, they are doing a Black Friday sale. I think it starts November 17th. So you might want to wait and place an order then. They're doing like up to 30% off for select styles. I think it's November 17th through December 1st. So if you're looking for a good opportunity to try and get a discount, and I don't know if you'll get to use the code DISTANCE if it's already on sale, but you could certainly do the post purchase survey and give us the credit there. So you send us that picture, and we'll hook you up with some even more free stuff. And Mount to Coast is doing I don't know the dates on theirs, but they're doing a free, I think, like shoe bag, like a carrier for the holidays this year. So I might place my own order just to get one of those.
Nice.
I can like masquerade as someone supporting the podcast.
Will you send yourself a screenshot?
And then send myself a shirt. I'm looking at my pile of shirts right now. I've got to go to the UPS store. I've got some to ship out right now. But yeah, so thank you for listening to our sponsor spiel. Yeah, what else we got, Peter? Anything?
No, just it's that time of year. Oh, Western states. I think that's probably the next big news. I gotta put my name in the hat.
You haven't done it yet?
No, we have a bit to do it, but yeah, I should go do that right now.
They do give you a big window, but I usually do it in the first day or two, just so I don't forget.
Yeah, so don't forget, anyone out there listening.
Yeah.
Get your tickets in.
Even if you have one ticket, all it takes is one.
Yep.
How many do we have? 8, right?
Something like that, or 16. I don't know.
I think we have 8. Peter and I are going to get in the same year. Definitely going to happen.
Yep, I think this is it.
Oh, you think it's this year?
Maybe. I don't know. It's like a 1% chance.
I think it's a 1.7% chance. Although it's not finalized yet because people are still entering. So,
all right.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next week.